Um, yeah, so like and subscribe. Um, do the thing. Yeah, sorry about that. Just yeah, like and subscribe, and so yeah, so this could go out to all of those that would find this of value in all of that. Probably gonna make another one once every now and then, maybe consistently. Hopefully, is the goal. So, oh, I'll probably go back. Um, the initial point of all of this is to just give my unprofessional thoughts as I go through. So, um, I hope this is of value to someone. This is just my thoughts, and kind of like a review of sorts. It doesn't really amount to much at the end of the day. So, yeah, I'll read through it and I'll just give my comment as I read and I'll understand it and what are my views on it. And let's go. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness He called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Like a lot of people here actually take this verse literally, um, and I'll show you why I don't take this as the first literal day. Waters, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning the second day. God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God created the dry land, earth, and gathered together of the waters called he, and the gathered together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, and herbs yielding seeds, and fruits yielding trees, and fruits after his kind, and whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. Well, just looking at it here, um, well, God started calling things after their kind when I guess life emerged. I guess plant can be considered life. But going back to what I said, keep in mind about the first day thing and why I don't take it verbatim is, well, I guess we're getting there in that sense. The heaven brought forth grass and herbs yielding seeds after his kind, and the trees yielding fruits whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning the third day. And God said, "Let there be light in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years." If people were to, as I was told in the past, to let me to believe that this was the creation of the first day, when say, "God, let there be light," and there was evening and the morning, this part, if Genesis 5 was the literal creation of the first day, I wouldn't. Then what would this be then? Where is it? Did I lose it? Oh. Oh. Ay, ay, ay. There we go. Here. Genesis 14. If Genesis 5 and Genesis 14, they both can't be speaking about the same day as how we understand it, and that would, I guess, kind of put a dent in the young Earth creationism, because Genesis 14 kind of suggests that way, that the sense of time as we perceive it might not be what is being spoken of. Is more so kind of like laying the foundation for a certain thing in that sense. Lord, let's keep going. And let it be for light, and let them be for light in the firmament, for the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two greater lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. This would indicate, from that perspective, if you're like from Earth looking up, this would indicate that as the Earth was like forming itself, building an atmosphere and all of that Tuesday scientific stuff I don't know and I'm not going to speak about, it would indicate like necessarily even the first day, even going to Genesis 16, hasn't even been made. You can say it's in the process of being made, but it hasn't been made. And this would also like just strengthen the idea that there's nothing in the Bible in of itself that would say you have to take it like verbatim, word for word. Like these are like literal days of creation in that sense, because from here we are told that, well, from Genesis 14 anyways, here we're told that he made or is in the process of making something that can be used for days, can be used for days, years, seasons, signs. And then again we're told that he's making two greater lights, one to rule one of those things for days and one to rule one of those things for nights. And he made the stars also. So this would indicate that from here, the first day as we even know it hasn't even been made, and thus it would also make let's keep going. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens, and gave light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night. And he divided the lights from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning, the fourth day. Because as it says here, on the fourth day, it would make no sense for this to be the fourth day, literally, if you're a young on earth creationist, and ignore just from here like these passages that are literally talking about the creations of the things that are used to bring about the first day, as how you would understand it. And yet here we're in the fourth day, quote unquote. So that would just be in the like a sense of, and then God made this, and then God made this, and then God made the stars and the earth, and etc., that we use to fall for the days, and then God did this, and then God divided and then God set them in the firmament. Like that would also be like sufficient in that sense. Anyways, and God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures, and heath life, and flow the waters fly above, and earth in open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales, and every living creature, and that moveth, which the waters bring forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged flow after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the sea, and let flow multiply in the earth, and evening and the morning, the fifth day. Yeah, no need to harp on it. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures after his kind, cattle, creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after his kind, and every living creeping thing, everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Well, that's interesting. And God said, let the earth, and God made. Was God talking to himself? Like I didn't want to like start like harking on this Trinitarian thing, but like when you look at it, even in the Genesis in of itself, it kind of portrays that. Like at one instant, God is saying, "Let they do this," and then in the other instant, God is making this. But this is happening simultaneously. You could say that, like he's using the word, like just saying things in, as the Muslim brothers would say, be and so be and you be, as they say with Isa, quote unquote. But that's nothing to do with this. But that kind of concept, you could say like is using that kind of, you could use that kind of interpretation, I guess. But yeah, but looking at it here, for me, it doesn't also suggest that. It kind of just shows like two active functions. Maybe this is the preconceived notions coming out. Most likely is. But looking at it here, we have consistently God saying something, and then the next verse saying God doing the thing that God is saying. So God narrates to himself in that sense, like I am grabbing water, I am drinking water, I am walking outstairs, I am, like that's what it would look like if you want to kind of notice. That's what it looks like to me anyways, if you were to take that path. Because this is quite interesting, like consistently would say, and God said this, yeah, and God said let the waters be this, and God created the great. It's like God says the overview and then God makes the details. But then if that is the case, what does he narrate to himself what he does? That'll be kind of weird. um, Probably disrespecting some people, aren't I? Hey, boy. Um, and it was good, and evening and the morning, the fourth day. And God said, let created great whales, be fruitful and multiply. And evening and morning, the fifth day. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures after his kind, and cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after his kind, and evening and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let us make men in our see, like, and then especially with the us aspect of it, it would conclude that necessarily you have to look at it from like two personhood of God are already like verbatimly being made here, and that would be argued be like God and his spirit, because his spirit is hovering in creation necessarily, and God is outside of creation. So like as, and like from this image just going up from ultimately how it culminates here, and God said let us make men in our image, and so God created men. Like it's impossible to not argue a doctrine of like multiplicity in God that is being, just from the first 23 verses, 26 verses, culminating with the 27th verse. um it's like I can see why people would want to argue that from the very beginning, because it's quite easy going back at it, where it would start like, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Like, instantly you could, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was once like a rendition that would go along the long and say, and God said, let there be this, and God, that will go along the line of like adding the Spirit of God along into the creation order, or people like understanding like the Spirit of God as another personhood of God. Like, obviously as a Trinitarian I believe that, but even like Binitarians in that sense, I wouldn't, like, I would see how they would also get there, because just the way it's said, and going up to finishing up with Genesis 26 and 27, it's God saying something and God doing what he was saying. And if that's the case, it would, there's like, for me anyways, like two explanation. Either God self-narrates to himself as he does what he's doing, like if he's creating men, he would say, let there be men, and then he would start creating men, like, you know, like announce what he's about to do in like to himself kind of way. If he's a one person Unitarian God in that sense, but then if it is not, it would make sense why it would go like, oh, God said this and then God made this, one after the other, and then end up culminating with, and then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, after our kind, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and hover, and over the flow of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the, and over all the earth, and over all creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And so God created man in his own image. Like, it kind of already prompts you to understand. And then even when it goes, God created man in his own image, you can also like understand the you could use the image of man to come up with that, to like how he created, like here, and then so God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created male and female, he created them. Like, in the image of God, that is man, there's multiplicity, and that is something that is within man inherently, that was given by God as them being an image. So if you were to go back and reread it, you would just conclude that God is a multi-personal being in that sense. You wouldn't conclude it like absolutely, but it wouldn't be strange to do so. But then you could argue that in the multiplicity in men here, or humans, male and female, I love how they use this distinction here, male and female, and men, like kind of like the overview of that sense. You could argue that was just like a sense of like creation order, like, oh, that's just how men or humans are supposed to be in that sense. But I wouldn't, yeah, my own preconceived notions, most definitely. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the flow of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, and every beast for the earth, and every flow of the air, and every living thing that creepeth upon the earth, wherein wherein there is life. I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning, the sixth day. And yeah, like that would, it's just really what I think about. It's just wow. I'm a bit like shocked about my own thoughts going into it. Yeah, for me anyways, this is kind of how I understand it. Like, and the Trinitarian aspect of it, if for me it's always kind of like baked in just how it's set. God saying something and God creating something, God saying something, God creating something that he said, God saying something, God creating what he said, God saying something, and then God setting the rules for what he said. It kind of seems like, okay, who's God announcing to? Unless he's announcing to his spirit. Like, if, in that sense, that's what it would appear to me. And especially with 26, where he's, as he said, let us make man in our image. Again, a bare minimum Binitarian God would suffice just what's going on here for me anyways. Just reading at it, I'll be there like, if it's not a Binitarian God, I'll say like there is like other beings other than God helping God in the creation order. But if we were to go back up here and in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, this exclude other beings that don't exist before the beginning. So yeah, whatever, if that kind of makes sense. Should I go with 2? How time 21 minutes. Okay, sure, maybe try. And thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his works which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his works which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his works which God created and made. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. From the Lord God had not created it to rain, because the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was no man, and there was not a man to fill the ground. Interesting. Sounds like a new creation. I like just directly upon it. But I would not say so. I would seem like it sounds like a focus point, like a pinpoint of where God says, let the herbs, in between God said, let the herbs, let's do that. I guess they're pinpointing to the culmination. Like, again, it ends with humans being, Genesis 1 ends with humans being created, kind of like a pyramid of that sense, where the way Genesis 1 ends, it in a sense where Genesis 2 picks up. Genesis 1 ends with the creation of men, whilst Genesis 2 begins necessarily, like contextually wise, and like the information that you're being given that is of value begins with the creation of men, in a sense, just a lot more clarified. But that's just my own, like, already something like I already believe. So yeah, and it was a man to, and there was no man to till the ground, but they went up in the midst of the earth, and watered the floor, the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed unto his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. Kind of seems like, let us make man in our image, and God created man in his image, male and female, he created them. Kind of just seems that just reiterated in that sense, but then that just seems a little bit not convincing. Maybe I should look up online what it says about it. Genesis 2 is a more detailed look into the sixth day creation point before God rested. I guess you should view it, well, now just reading out what that thing said, I'm viewing it in the sense of, you know how there's like Zion theology midway through the Bible, and temple theology, and what's the other one? Tabernacle theology. In later down the line when we get to it, if I remember, I will actually try and explain what I meant then with the information in my face. But like, every time there is like an arc with humanity and God having a tabernacle, there is like this other third thing that acts as a mediator between, there we go, a mediation again between man and God in that sense. And I guess Genesis is getting more in detail to it because it focuses with life in the garden, life in God's garden. Like, that was the mediation between man and God, the garden. And then after that was gone, it came with Noah, and his mediation with God was, he didn't have one, right? Because it was just a sick, deprived place. And when he made a promise with God, he got his mediation, and that was the ark. The promise between God and Noah was the ark. Like, the visual promise of it was the creation of the ark. And the promise between Abraham and God was Isaac. And the promise between the Israelites, or I guess Moses, and God were the temple. Well, I guess for when it became the Israelites' turn, was the temple, not the temple, the tabernacle in that sense. Kind of like that. There's always it's always portrayed like there's always like a third party, be it intelligent or non-intelligent. So I guess a detailed look into it, and with the beginning of the first one of that, I guess. And God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put man whom he had formed, and out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Yeah, like, there it is. I guess this back then would have been garden theology. Garden theology is how you would get with Zion theology, is how you would get with temple theology, and all of those things. Like, this kind of seems like the very beginning of that. The intermediary, the heaven and earth space thing, and the heaven and earth space thing can be anything. It can be, oh my god, it can actually be anything. here, the heaven and earth space, the intermediate space was the garden. Or should I say Eden? No, yeah, the garden. Awesome stuff, man. And the river went from out of Eden in the water of the greater key of the what? And the river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from hence it was parted and became into four heads, and the name of the first is Pison. Why am I what? Sijui soma. That is it which compasseth the whole land of Hevela, yeah, Benizal. Hey, hi, bro. I'm just gonna skip that word. I'm not the only one that does this. A lot of people do this.